Sunday night,
it's football night.
The #1 primetime show of the fall is back with the biggest games, the brightest stars, and the best team. Only on NBC.
On the shores of Lake Michigan at Soldier Field in Chicago tonight, two NFC North rivals look to move north in the standings on Sunday Night Football. In a sloppy loss Monday in Detroit that was marred by both offensive and defensive breakdowns, the Bears' Lance Briggs and Brian Urlacher were seen in animated conversation on the sidelines. More from Urlacher later on about what the Bears need to do if they're to return to form. It's also been a struggle for Donovan McNabb and the Vikings, though after opening the season with 4 straight losses, they did manage to get their first win last week against Arizona. Another win tonight in McNabb's hometown of Chicago would appear to be essential, lest Minnesota's season slip away. 57 degrees right now in Chicago, windy as you would expect. They say the temperatures will head down toward the 40s. Once we get into the game and throughout the evening, the game will be called as ever by Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth. They join us here. First item of business, Julius Peppers, outstanding defensive end for the Bears, did not practice all week, knee injury, but he will start tonight.
Chicago, that toddling town that's always been a Bears town. And tonight the Minnesota Vikings pay a call to Soldier Field on Sunday Night Football.
America, it's time. Sunday night is the night where the stars come out to shine. Under prime time lights is more than a fight. It's where heavyweights collide. Tonight, the Vikings and Bears lay it all on the line.
All right, Sunday night, where are you? Waiting for the game that bleeds red, white, and blue. You want some football? We want it too. Hey, Jack, it's a fact. The show's back in town. Vikings and the Bears, a division showdown. The stadium's rocking. Time to crank up the sound. NFL's best have come to play. Coast to coast, there's just one thing left to say. I've been waiting all day for Sunday night. Get on your feet for a star-spangled flight. More than a game, it's every fan's right. That's why we're waiting all day for Sunday night.
And Harmon through the middle for a touchdown.
now we're playing some football.
It's Hester. He is going to go all the way.
Sunday night football on NBC. Al, Ed, and Chris are the best on TV. Stars are out. It's the place to be. 'Cause the NFL rocks on NBC.
A cool mid-October Sunday night in Chicago. Temperature in the mid-50s. And Adrian Peterson and the Minnesota Vikings have come into Soldier Field ready to take on Brian Urlacher. He'll have AP in his sights all night long. The Bears and the Vikings on Sunday Night Football. Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, Michelle DeFoya, welcome to Chicago. The Chicago Bears come in with a mark of 2-3. Now, this is a team last year that came within 1 win of going to the Super Bowl, losing here in the NFC Championship game to the Packers. Right now, they are struggling. They come off a very ugly, penalty-filled Monday night game, a loss to Detroit last week. And right now, this team, I would not say they're done. It's too early to say that. But right now, the Chicago Bears, if they lose this game tonight, would have to be listed in serious condition. As far as the Vikings are concerned, they were already in serious condition. A mark of 1-4, lost their first 4 games, 3 when they blew big halftime leads. But last week they knocked off Arizona. They go to 1-4, a team with a lot of talent. Let's face it, when you have Adrian Peterson coming out of the backfield, you have a chance to win any game. Let's talk about Minnesota, Chris. This is a team right now, they got off the schneid last week to go to 1-4, but how do they get on a roll and avoid going into rebuilding mode in November?
Well, Adrian Peterson is the key, but so is Donovan McNabb. You know, he really has to make more throws down the field for this Minnesota Vikings team to save their season. But for Donovan, he may well be playing tonight to save his job. He has to make some big plays.
Now, as far as Chicago is concerned, we knew before the season started they have huge offensive line problems, still do. Their defense has been a problem, especially at safety. So what are the remedies tonight?
Well, they have to protect this offensive line more than what they did the other night. And the obvious answer is to try and run the football with Matt Forte. But the question is, will Mike Martz be willing to do that? You know, he's a guy that wants to spread it all out and throw it with Jay Cutler. So somewhere in between tonight, we're going to find out who the Bears really are.
One number that Mike Martz will call a lot tonight is the number worn by his running back, Matt Forte, coming into the weekend, leading the league in yards from scrimmage. He and AP tonight. Bears-Vikings Sunday Night Football.
NBC Sports, home of Super Bowl 46, welcomes you to the following presentation of the National Football League.
For years, the Bears' hallmark has been a great defense. Not so, in particular, this year. They are putting up some very ugly numbers, as you can see there, and they're giving up a lot of big plays, including a couple last week against Detroit. Now, the man in the middle is the linebacker, Brian Urlacher, and he's with Michelle DeFoy. Michelle.
Hey. Thank you, Al. Brian, a rocky and uncharacteristic start for your defense. What has to happen tonight that hasn't happened yet this season in order to fix this thing?
We just got to be disciplined. That's it. Play hard and be disciplined. Run through our gaps. Quit missing tackles and make plays. It's as easy as that.
You know, Adrian Peterson has had some big games against you guys, but the last 3 times you faced him, you've held him in check. What's key to limiting his production?
Well, he's a great player. We know that. He's going to make plays. We just got to limit those plays if we can. Just give as many guys as we can to the football.
Brian, thank you. And in a bit of a surprise for the Bears, all-pro defensive end Julius Peppers, who did not practice all week and was listed as doubtful, will start tonight. He's wearing a brace on that left knee, but this is welcome news for Chicago, Al.
Thank you, Michelle. And you begin to wonder about last year. There is Peppers. Remember, the Bears played the Vikings toward the end of last season, and at that time, Brett Favre was the quarterback in Minnesota. They were listing him as out, and the next thing you know, he starts the game. So there was some speculation in Chicago this week that maybe there'd be a little payback, that the Bears would say Peppers won't play. And sure, tonight there he is, ready to not only suit up, but to be in the starting lineup. Robbie Gould will kick off for Chicago. Minnesota to receive. And Lorenzo Booker, who's been around with a couple of teams over the past couple of seasons, will run it back on this windy night with the wind swirling, and Booker won't have a chance right here because Minnesota will take the ball at the 20-yard line as we take a look at the Minnesota starters.
Donovan McNabb, Syracuse University.
Adrian Peterson, Oklahoma.
Bernard Berrien, Fresno State.
Percy Harvin, Florida.
Sati Shanko, Morgan State Bears.
Jim Kleinsasser, North Dakota. Charlie Johnson, Sherman, Texas.
Steve Hutchinson, Michigan.
John Sullivan, Notre Dame.
Anthony Herrera, the real UT. Bill Loho, Oklahoma.
Donovan McNabb. All of those seasons in Philly, then last year Washington, and he starts by giving the ball to his main man, Adrian Peterson, who takes the ball to the 21-yard line. You recall last year McNabb traded by Philadelphia to Washington. Looked like Kevin Cobb would be the quarterback. He got hurt, and then it was Michael Vick, of course. One forgettable year for Donovan in Washington. He called it, when we asked him to describe it yesterday, a blur. And then right after the lockout got resolved, it was Donovan getting traded by Washington to Minnesota at the end of July. 2nd and 9. And the Bears are taking a timeout, an early timeout, and that's something the Bears have been doing a lot
this is the first
this season.
Timeout, Chicago, 30-second timeout.
Taking early timeout. So right off the bat, they don't line up correctly defensively, and Urlacher goes over to go over things with Lovie Smith.
Well, they had 3 tight ends in the game, and then they shifted everybody over, and it's sort of, I don't think the Bears knew exactly how to handle it here. They've got all this. Okay, Urlacher knew right away that we're not sitting pretty here. So it is amazing. The graphic that you put up there, one sort of flash by there. They've given up 3 70-yard plays this year, the Bears have. It was since 2001 they've given up 3 70-yard plays. So, I mean, it is just remarkable what's happened to this very proud defense.
2 in 1 game last week. The Vikings on 2nd down and 9. And it's Peterson for a gain of 2 to the 23-yard line. Major Wright, who gets the start tonight. They've changed safeties. They had Chris Harris and Brandon Merriweather last week, and tonight Chris Conti and Major Wright.
Major Wright right here, and he's going to be at the line of scrimmage. Basically, the Bears telling Donovan McNabb, you want to beat us tonight? We're going to have to throw the ball, and here we go. This has been the Achilles heel for the Vikings this year, trying to complete passes on third down.
And McNabb has had accuracy trouble, especially last week when he threw a lot of ground balls in the first quarter. And this one is dropped. So this time he hits Shanko right in the hands at the 25-yard line, and he drops it, and it's a 3-and-out for the Vikings.
Just trying to keep an eye on Julius Peppers over here on the outside. See what that knee looks like. Not too bad there. He didn't practice at all. It was maybe gamesmanship, the fact that he wasn't out there, but we were at practice on Friday, and he did not participate, not one play.
Devin Hester in 9 games against the Vikings with 3 runbacks for touchdowns. Kluwe's kick is an angle kick, and a fair catch is called for at the 32-yard line. So Hester pulls it in there. Chicago takes over, and here's the Bear offense.
Jay Cutler, Vanderbilt University.
Matt Forte, Tulane University.
Tyler Klutz, Fresno State. Johnny Knox, Abilene Christian.
Devin Hester, the U. Kellen Davis, Michigan State.
Jamarcus Webb, West Texas A&M. Chris Williams, Vanderbilt University.
Roberto Garza, Texas A&M Kingsville.
Chris Spencer, East Florida Middle School.
Lance Lewis, L.B. Landry High School.
And that offensive line very much in the crosshairs again tonight, as it was last week in Chicago. In Detroit, with the false starts, the team with a total of 9 as Forte takes it for a gain of 3 up to the 35. Jay Cutler traded before the 09 season from Denver when Josh McDaniels became the coach, and they thought it was the second coming. And of course, the second coming in Chicago for a quarterback has always been somebody to succeed Sid Luckman. And it's been that long because Luckman still holds some of the Bear passing marks. Of course, Jim McMahon was here, led him to a Super Bowl win, but they've been looking for the savior. Cutler now in his 3rd year, 2nd down and 7 with the ball at the 35-yard line. And that pass is caught over the middle. It's Roy Williams, the former Detroit Lion and Dallas Cowboy, who comes here this year for a gain of 17 yards and a first down.
Well, here's the answer to our first question. We have 2 extra tight ends in to try and help with the pass protection along with Matt Forte. So they are going to try to answer with protection. And Roy Williams, who really has not been much of a factor so far this year, is early.
The fullback is Tyler Klutz. Play action. Cutler has some time. Cutler going deep into double coverage, and it's pulled in by Hester for the touchdown. 48 yards. He splits Abdullah and Griffin. So they put a fullback in. They have the play fake. Cutler has some time, backs up, launches it downfield. Touchdown.
Well, the first thing you've got to do is stop this pass rush, one of the best in the league for the Vikings. That time, 8-man protection up front, all over Jared Allen, the leading sacker in the NFL, and Jay Cutler takes a step back and lets his guy take off. Abdullah tried to come over the top to help, but he ended up throwing it right in behind him.
8-man protection with the quarterback going back. That means you send only 2 guys into the patterns. One about 15 deep and the other Hester all the way to the end zone. Goal for the extra point. And it's a perfect start for the Bears. Their defense creates a 3-and-out, and then Cutler winds up throwing a touchdown pass to Hester early in the first. 7-0 Chicago. Sunday Night Football brought to you by Southwest Airlines. You can find our fares online only at southwest.com. By BMW, the ultimate driving machine. By Bud Light, official beer sponsor of the NFL. Here we go. And by Windows 7. Friday night, high school action. That was Mount Carmel High losing to St. Rita. Mount Carmel is where Donovan McNabb went to high school in the Chicago area. Donovan's been back here to play several times as a Philadelphia Eagle with some success. Mom, Dad, and his wife looking on here in Chicago. And right now, Donovan will have to take his team from behind 7-0 early on. They are not used to falling behind. The Vikings have had some big leads, as we mentioned at the top. They've blown them, and now tonight they're down 7-0 early.
Give one to Mike Martz here. He caught him in a run defense, bringing the safety out the middle, something the Vikings don't do a lot. And then Hussein Abdullah just gets completely turned around. That is not a tough coverage. You just have to keep backing up. But I guess maybe it is when you've got Devin Hester running at you.
McNabb out of the shotgun from the 20-yard line. And almost has that intercepted. And had DJ Moore come up with that, it would have been 14-0.
Well, DJ Moore was really coming on a blitz that time from right here, and Donovan almost threw it right to him. Boy, that would have been with some of the struggles with the Vikings passing game. That would have been a tough lead to overcome. 14-0.
2nd and 10. Peterson, second in the league in rushing to McFadden of Oakland coming into the game. Let's take a look at the Chicago defense.
Israel Idonije, Manitoba.
Henry Melton, Texas. Anthony Adams, Penn State. Julius Peppers, North Carolina. Nick Roach, Northwestern. Brian Urlacher, University of New Mexico.
Lance Briggs, Desert Swarm, Arizona. Tim Jennings, Georgia.
Major Wright, the University of Florida.
Chris Conley, Cal. Charles Tillman, the University of Louisiana.
Tillman's been around a long time. The two safeties making their start tonight as Bernard Berrien, the former Chicago Bear, can't handle that one. He's caught only 2 passes all season and was deactivated last week.
Yeah, you can't blame Donovan McNabb for this one. Hit him right between the 8 and the 7, and that's what's been happening to them. They're converting 39% on 3rd down passes, and they just cannot keep the football. It's amazing to see what this team has done offensively on those key plays.
So 2 drops on 3rd down passes, and now Kluwe shanks that one off the side of his foot and gets a very lucky roll because it stays in bounds all the way down to the 31-yard line. And the Bears will have the ball for the 2nd time tonight at that spot with Jay Cutler. Beautiful shot looking north up the shoreline of Lake Michigan. As we come back to Soldier Field, Kevin Williams, 9th year in the league out of Oklahoma State, part of that fabled Williams wall, but Pat no longer with the Vikings. Part of that front 4, and they set up a screen here to Forte. He gets to the 35-yard line. Let's take a look at the Viking starters.
Brian Robinson, University of Texas.
Remy Adele, Boomer Sooner.
Kevin Williams, Oklahoma State.
Jared Allen, Culinary Academy.
Chad Greenway, University of Iowa.
E.J. Henderson, Maryland.
Aaron Henderson was hurting him in the home of the Terrapins.
Chris Cook, UVA.
Jamarcus Turner, Mississippi.
Hussein Abdullah, Washington State.
Cedric Griffin, the Great School of Texas.
Remy Adele. How do we get that hairstyle? Here's Forte up to the 45-yard line. Matt Forte, who is right now in a, I wouldn't say a contract dispute, to put it that way, but let's put it in these terms. Well, I guess you could say that. Right. He wants a new deal. He wants a better deal. He's been so valuable to this team. He accounts for almost half of the yardage. Jerry Angelo is the general manager of the Bears, and he's going to have to pay up to keep a guy who right now is about as valuable to his team as anybody in the league. Leads the team in rushing, leads the team in receiving yards, and is backed up by Marion Barber, who's in the game right now. And the pass goes to the outside, and that's caught by the fullback Tyler Crutch, who loses the ball. The Viking bench signaling it should be a fumble and a recovery. The officials confer, and they will keep the ball in the Bears' hands.
Well, you saw the one official say thought he was bobbling the ball. Yeah, he never really gained control of the football. This ball definitely comes out, gets punched. Well, there's a relatively clean knee down.
Fumble forward, out of bounds. By rule, we'll come back to the spot of the fumble.
But he never maintained control of it.
Aaron Henderson is the man who was able to punch the ball out. One more look at this.
Well, it's been a rough night for Hussein Abdullah already here tonight. Gave up the touchdown and had a chance for a big play. Knee down, that's going to be a recovery, but he can't hold on to the ball.
That makes it 2nd down and 4. And Forte with some tough running over left guard, taken down by Aaron Henderson. A Chicago 1st down to the 44-yard line.
Yeah, good looking double team inside on Kevin Williams here. Just going right at one of the top defenders in the game, and little trap from the outside with Matt Spaeth as well. So, you know, as much as you want to get on this offensive line for not pass protecting, you got Matt Forte, who's having a career year so far, averaging 5.5 yards a carry.
At the 44, they load the box that time, and there's no place for Forte to go.
Jay Cutler out in front throwing a block. You know, it's sort of interesting coming into this season that one of the stories was that the Bears not go to the Super Bowl because Jay Cutler wasn't tough enough in the championship game. Well, last week he proved everything you'd ever want to prove about toughness, and here he is lead blocking out in front, got Jared Allen on the ground.
Very interesting how it all evolved. I mean, everybody was on his case after he took himself out, was hurt in the NFC Championship game. Caleb Haney had to come in, and now all of a sudden, Jay is like the hero last week, and the offensive line takes the brunt of the criticism. Pass is caught by Marion Barber, and the longtime Dallas Cowboy, first year as a Bear, to the 44-yard line. It'll be 3rd and long. The pressure Cutler has been under. Take a look at that. In the Atlanta Open, in which they won, sacked 5 times. Then a half dozen times at New Orleans. Thrice against Green Bay, once against Carolina, 3 more times last week. 18 sacks of Cutler in 5 games this season.
Those 3 sacks last week felt like about 7 or 8 under siege.
He's 5 for 5 to start the game. Cutler. And that pass incomplete. Matter of semantics here. We said that Cutler took himself out of the game last year. He was hurt, and the Bears actually took him out of the game. But you all recall, and that's kind of the way Jay is. He looks dispassionate. He can be laconic, and the fans all look at the guy and they go, "What's wrong with him? Why isn't he playing?" And of course, you knew about all the tweets the guys were sending around the league, the players, and all of that. But, you know, Cutler, like almost anything in his career, just lets it all roll off his shoulders.
Yeah, a shrug of his shoulders, a roll of his eyes, and goes on vacation.
Adam Podlish, former Jacksonville Jaguar, and that's fair caught at the 5-yard line. Odd place to make a fair catch, but that's what Marcus Sherrills just did. 7-0 Chicago. For the complete Sunday night experience, check out Sunday Night Football Extra at NBCSports.com. A lot of good stuff at that site. NBCSports.com, Sunday Night Extra. 7-0. The Chicago Bears on top. Halfway through the opening quarter. And the Vikings backed up at their own 5-yard line. Vikings have had 2 3-and-outs. And in each case, a 3rd down pass from McNabb has been dropped. Fake to Peterson, then the pass is caught, but only for a 1-yard gain by Kyle Rudolph, 2nd-round draft choice out of Notre Dame, rookie tight end. Donovan through week 5. He's been fine on 1st down. Numbers are very good. 2nd down, not very good. 3rd down, horrible. 39%, 3.6 yards per pass, and a 55 rating, which would be the lowest among the NFL qualifiers. 2nd and 8. And look out, and McNabb is going to get sacked. And the question is he out of the end zone? Walt Anderson says no, it's a safety. Urlacher is the first guy to come in. There he is, right in the middle. The whole ball has to come out of the end zone, and the goal line is part of the end zone, and it doesn't, and it's 9-0 Chicago. Rookie second-round pick Stephen Paya out of Oregon State is the guy who really provided the path for Urlacher to come in and get that sack of McNabb and create the safety to make it 9-0. And this Minnesota gets a free kick from the 20-yard line. And it's a bad kick.
And recover it.
And it's the Bears who recover the ball at the 44-yard line. It's a live ball. Kyle Adams recovering it.
Let's go back. Here's Stephen Paya going to do a big loop around the center, John Sullivan, and then Urlacher's there to clean it up. But watch this quickness by Paya. I knew he was strong. He set a combine record bench pressing 225 49 times. I just didn't know he was that quick. And for Donovan, sort of laid down there, might have been able to jump forward and get out of the end zone, but
well, they've given the whole sack to Paya, which gives him 2 points. And again, to reiterate that rule, on a safety, the whole ball has to come out of the end zone. It's not like on offense where if the tip of the ball intersects the front of the goal line, it's a touchdown. It's the reverse in this instance. And here is good, tough running by Matt Forte. Across midfield to the 47-yard line. Even farther, they'll spot it at the 46 and give him a first down.
Well, Kellen Davis doing a really nice job on the outside, coming down here on Jared Allen, driving him out. And then you end up with Chris Williams, the guard, pulling out and around. And right now, the Chicago Bears are doing just about anything they want to do. But when they get Matt Forte going and he gets some of these stiff arms going, you know you're going to have a pretty good day.
9 minutes into the game, the Bears with 105 yards and the Vikings with 3. Flag. Cutler, as he's prone to do, throws off his back foot, and it's caught by Tyler Klutz. Chad Greenway making the tackle, but you're going to get the penalty against Chicago to negate the play.
Illegal formation, offense. Number 73 was on the end of the line, uncovered. 5-yard penalty, still first down.
Leslie Frazier took over last year. Brad Childress was fired in November, and Frazier coached the team over the last 6 games, and then they took the interim tag off in his first full year as the head coach. And hard to believe, Lovie Smith already in his 8th season as the Bears head coach, and both guys, of course, have links to the Tony Dungy tree. First and 15 at the 50-yard line. And 4-yard pickup for Forte, tackled there by Jared Allen. And both guys, to a degree, especially I think Frazier, that he's kind of got that whole Tony rhythm thing going.
Yeah, he does. There's no question about it. And you know, for this Minnesota Vikings defense and for Donovan McNabb, this game has gone completely the opposite way of what they were hoping it would be. The Vikings hoping this was going to turn into a pass rushing game, and so far it's been controlled by Forte and the play action.
2nd and 11. More play action again. Pass over the middle. Hauled in. Taken by Roy Williams inside the 30 to the 28-yard line. Well, Williams trying to resurrect his career with the Bears.
Yeah, Cutler said he hadn't had a lot of time to work with him yet, but Jared Allen out here on the outside is getting a lot of attention. Coming in, leading the league with 8.5 sacks, and so far he has not been able to turn the corner. You can see them a little bit hesitant playing the run because they've had success, but if Roy Williams gets it going for the Bears, that would help a lot.
From the 28-yard line, blitz coming. They pick it up. Cutler launching it deep, and it is juggled. Was he inbounds? No, as the ball comes down, intended for Johnny Knox, and Hussein Abdullah came away with the football, but he was out of bounds. incomplete.
Well, and the key really has been the improved play of Chris Cook, who was on the coverage. There's Abdullah, not even close.
Nope.
But that is yet another example. There's 31 Chris Cook, who's really in there because of the injury to Antoine Winfield, who has played really well the last few weeks. A guy that was injured a lot last year, but has been making big steps the last couple of games.
And Cook has come out after that last play. Hobbled off the field. They give it to Forte. Off he goes inside the 10 to set up a first down and goal, and he's flagged down at the end. Griffin runs him down at the 7-yard line.
Personal foul, horse collar tackle, number 23, defense. Half the distance to the goal, first down.
And that'll make it first down and goal from about the 3.5.
Let's take a look right here at Chris Williams. This draw takes a long time to develop, and watch him just stay on his guy. He comes off and gets Jared Allen on the backside. And Matt Forte gives you that little subtle hot. I think one of the keys to his game is just the patience that the guy shows running the football. Never overly excited.
Marion Barber is the back. Look at that hole. Well, that Chicago offensive line in the crosshairs all week and all season doing the job. They've been protecting Cutler, create a huge hole from the 3 for Barber, and the Chicago Bears into the end zone again.
Well, the Vikings are not a good big team down on the goal line. So what happens is a lot of times they have to run stunts, and that time you saw on the inside that was Kevin Williams basically run himself out of the play, and Jamarcus Webb helped him.
Robbie Gould for the point after. So last week it was the Vikings with a big first quarter against Arizona. Tonight the Bears with a big first quarter against the Vikings. 16-zip. On Friday nights, beginning October 28th, the new series Grimm comes to NBC. A detective with some strangely familiar cases. Sailing down the Chicago River by the Wrigley Building, not far from Lake Michigan. Beautiful city of Chicago on this Sunday night. Percy Harvin takes it from the end zone out to the 20-yard line with 3:34 to go in the quarter.
Well, we talked about some of the issues the Bears faced defensively last week against the Detroit Lions. It was a long run by Jahvid Best, and you'll see some of the mistakes. Here's Brian Urlacher in the middle, obviously one of the great players on the Bears. He's supposed to step up into his gap. He tries probably to do somebody else's job. But it was interesting talking to Lovie Smith. He was more upset with the safety play. He said there's nothing wrong with missing a gap like Urlacher did. Occasionally that's going to happen to us. But our safeties have to limit that to a 15-yard run, not an 88-yard touchdown.
88-yard run out of the shotgun, inside handoff. And in flag football, they couldn't even gotten a flag on that play. Gain of 1 for Peterson to the 21, so he's yet to get untracked tonight. Chris Harris was the starting safety, one of them last week, and he's not even active tonight. Major Wright takes his spot. Brandon Merriweather, who was the starter last week and wound up getting fined for another shot to the head, with Major Wright and Chris Conti taking the spots of those two. Second down and 9. McNabb throwing, and that is caught. And that will be a first down up at the 37-yard line. Kyle Rudolph, second-round pick out of Notre Dame, the number 2 tight end, a gain of 19 yards.
And really, Major Wright couldn't have had much better coverage than what he had on this one. And I got a chance to see a lot of Kyle Rudolph at Notre Dame. Guy catches the ball about as well as any tight end I think I've ever seen. If that thing hits his hands, it just sticks. It doesn't wobble. It doesn't bobble. And you talk to these Vikings, and they say more and more, we have to find a way to get this guy involved.
Meanwhile, here's Joe Webb, who comes into the game. They have a special package for him, and it's an inside handoff to Peterson. Now, we saw Webb last year. Remember, Favre was hurt, Tavares Jackson was hurt, and then in that Tuesday night game, because of the snowstorm in Philadelphia on Sunday, the game delayed until Tuesday, and Webb had a big night against the Eagles.
Yeah, they call this the Blazer package, and you just have to wonder how Donovan McNabb feels about it. He completes his first ball down the field, and that's when they choose to bring in the backup quarterback.
2nd and 7. He's really the third quarterback. They still have Christian Ponder listed as number 2, the rookie. And Webb throws that into the Chicago bench. It'll be 3rd down and 7. That first down as McNabb comes back into the game on the prior McNabb pass to Rudolph was their first down of the game. There's Jared Allen.
Yeah, has that little red dot in his eye, doesn't he? Remember, he got poked in the eye. I guess it was a couple weeks ago or whatever, and still shows that. And now Donovan McNabb comes back in 3rd and 7. He goes, thanks a lot. You know, I left 1st and 10, and now here I am 3rd and 7, and here come the Bears.
And you saw Allen just about as passionate as any guy in the league, talking about the fact that they've given up those 2 touchdowns. What are they going to do about it? Meanwhile, McNabb has another first down as he winds up hitting Percy Harvin across the 50 to the Bear 47-yard line with a minute and a half to go in the quarter.
Well, really not much to this route for Percy Harvin. He's just going to come down and sort of turn around in the zone. But what's interesting is, even watching the game last week for the Chicago Bears, not a lot of pass rush. Unless Julius Peppers was the guy getting there, we didn't see much from the other guys. And now Peppers playing with that bad knee, so we'll see how much time Donovan has tonight.
There's Peterson going to the outside to the 44-yard line. Peterson broke in as a rookie in 07. In fact, had a tremendous day here against Chicago. It's the only time that the Vikings have beaten the Bears in Chicago in the last decade. 11 touchdowns in 7 games against the Bears. You always want to make comparisons with a guy. So he asked his coach, Leslie Frazier, last night to compare him to somebody. And Leslie would know. And he compared him to Walter Payton with that combination of power and speed. 2nd down and 8. And this time it's Percy Harvin who lines up in that 3-man set in the backfield, and that will take us to the end of the first quarter. End of 1 at Soldier Field in Chicago. It's the Bears 16 and the Vikings nothing. Sunday Night Football resumes after these messages. Aerial coverage tonight being brought to you by Geico. The famed Willis Tower, once known as the Sears Tower. But everything available for naming rights in today's world.
Including our booth.
You
send a check.
$20. You got it. Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, Michelle DeFoy, Chicago. Start the second quarter. Toby Gerhart is in the game alongside McNabb on a 3rd down and 3. Donovan is flushed out and throws on the run, and Harvin makes the catch, and you saw the flag come in the secondary. McNabb in Philadelphia for many years, a great running threat going to the outside. Not much right now at age 35.
Well, the quarterback was in the pocket. Illegal contact, number 33, defense. That penalty is declined. 1st down.
Charles Tillman.
Obviously, if he goes outside the pocket, it's a different story, but there's the illegal contact. But it's sort of interesting that Donovan, the last couple of weeks, has made a couple of big plays for the Vikings with his legs. It's almost back to the future a little bit. I can remember talking to defensive coordinators and telling me, yeah, Donovan's trying to be more of a pocket passer these days. And they're like, thank goodness. You let him sitting there. I'll take him in there all day.
First down from the 26-yard line. That's Harvin, and he cannot get out of the backfield. That's Tillman, first guy to make contact with him behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, again, pressure up the middle here. And I know this was a bit of a screen pass, but there was pressure coming right through by Lance Briggs. And for John Sullivan, you want to get out on the screen, but you can't make it happen that fast.
Loss of 6, second down and 16. 4-man rush. And that is Harvin again. He holds that in at about the original line of scrimmage. So we're back to a 3rd and 10.
Yeah, and maybe Donovan goes to the wristband here. Look at the size of that thing. And of course, no off season meant that Donovan really didn't have as much time to learn this offense. And so when he struggles with a play call or whatever, he goes down to the wristband or the communication device doesn't work. But you wonder just how far along he is with this offense right now.
Plenty of talk last year in Washington about the wristband. 3rd and 10. Catch is made by Shanko, and he'll come up a couple of yards short of the first down. The tackle is made at the 18-yard line, and that's going to make it 4th down and 3.
Yeah, and here comes the field goal unit onto the field, still very early in the game. Ryan Longwell, he has had great success here.
And a few other places as well.
Yeah.
But very impressive when you have it here with the swirling winds and the late season weather. 37-yard attempt. And that'll get the Vikings on the board. So they have a drive that picks up their first 3 first downs of the night, and they're down 16-3. (16-3), Chicago on top. Jay Cutler, 3 years in Denver, 17 and 20 there, and then he comes over to Chicago, 19 and 17. So this is his 37th game with the Bears. As you can see, he's been sacked, and that's the key right there. 105 times, more than twice as much as he was with the Broncos, coached at that time by Mike Shanahan. Mike Martz is the offensive coordinator here, one of the masterminds behind the Rams' greatest show on turf. It's a very interesting combination they put together in Chicago.
It is. It's not really Jay Cutler's style. He's adapting to it. But you do get the feeling he wouldn't mind running a few bootlegs every once in a while in this offense.
Get out of the pocket. A bouncing ball, and Hester is going to come out from the goal line. And the coverage is perfect as he gets pinned inside the 10. Devin Aromashodu, the former Bear, stopping him there, and Cutler will start from his own 10-yard line. Jay Cutler, 2.9 times per game. 3rd season with the Bears. Highest rate and the active NFL player with the current team, and obviously a lot has to do with the line, but then again too, as Chris just said, a guy who would really love to get out of the pocket a lot more.
Well, and they've changed their game plan tonight. This is different than what they did against Detroit. They're leaving extra guys in to help protect.
And off to Forte, breaking tackles, tough running to the 14-yard line. Jamarcus Sanford, who had 2 interceptions last week, makes the stop.
Yeah, and this is the Vikings' good half, so they need to get going. This is when they've had leads, and right now defensively they have the Bears backed up a little bit, and you can only hope that at some point they'll be able to unleash these pass rushers that are so good. So far, because of the running of Forte, they have been unable to do that.
Forte 8 carries for 58 yards. And the man who leads the league in yards from scrimmage adds a few more and picks up a first down.
On the backside, Chris Williams continues to do a nice job. You know, when you have Forte, you're going to get some cutbacks, and so really the front side oftentimes is the backside with Matt Forte. So just about the time that they start moving across the board, He's coming back the other way. And for the Minnesota Vikings, they're not playing the way that they like to play right now. They like to leave 4 guys back in the secondary, but they're having to bring guys down to help against the run because they can't stop Forte. Here he comes again.
Cutler retreating, a step to his left, buys time, Knox makes the catch, and before Griffin can force him out of bounds, the Chicago Bears have taken the ball past the 40-yard line.
Well, there it was again. They drop a safety down that time. Here he comes. So now Jay Cutler says, fine, you want to do that? Now I'm going to throw into a 3-deep coverage and get my fast guys down the field. Right now, Mike Martz is simply a step ahead of this Minnesota Vikings defense. They can't stop the run, and now they're starting to take advantage with the passes down the field.
Gain of 19.
Ball start, number 67, offense. 5-yard penalty, still first down.
Chris Spencer. Of course, that was a call that was made about every 11 minutes the other night.
Boy, wasn't that amazing? You're sitting there watching that game. It's like, come on. And I know it was loud. And as the game evolved, we saw the tackles start the game looking at the guy they were going to block. And by the end of the game, they were looking in at the ball because they simply could not hear Jay Cutler.
From the 37. And he gets it off to Kevin Davis to the 40-yard line.
Really a much different game plan, though, tonight for Mike Martz. We're seeing a lot of these 7- and 8-man protections. Here it is with 2 extra tight ends and the back left end. Got the completion. Here we have 2 backs in the backfield. Another 7-man protection when they don't blitz. The guys get out. And once again, so we're not seeing that spread out 5-man out in the route. They're checking protection first, running the football well, and then throwing off of that.
Second and 12. Slings it to Forte, who can't hold on. It'll be 3rd down and 12 at the 40-yard line. Jared Allen seeking another sack, putting the pressure on that time, leading the league in sacks at this point in the season with 8.5.
Yeah, Jared Allen coming around the left edge, and he's going against the guy that can block the sun over there, Jamarcus Webb. And on the other side, Lance Lewis, who moved from guard a week ago out to tackle, is doing a nice job as well. Jared Allen having a monster season, but so far tonight really hasn't threatened Jay Cutler.
Cutler with time, and then he throws it behind Hester. Hester was free at the Minnesota 40-yard line, and the pass behind him, 4th down.
Lance Lewis out here working against Brian Robeson, and a little chip from Forte, yes, but one of the things that they really liked about Lewis was his ability to move his feet. Very athletic guy, and they're like, well, if we can't get out there to those tackles, we'll take our most athletic offensive lineman and give him a shot.
Adam Podlish, his second punt of the night, is a beautiful angled kick. And Sherrills has no place to go with it except out of bounds at the 9-yard line. 9.5 left in the half. 16-3, Chicago.
Chicago.
Sooner or later, it would figure that guy's going to be your Viking quarterback. They picked him in the 1st round, 12th overall pick, first Florida State quarterback ever selected in the 1st round. But right now, he's just learning. He's the number 2 quarterback behind McNabb. On the bench, watching Donovan begin this drive from the 9-yard line. And to the outside, and he throws another one into the ground as he was prone to do last week. So, Chris, the question becomes when? I mean, it's a matter of Ponder at some point becoming the quarterback. If you lose tonight and you go to 1-5, and now you got Green Bay at home next week, and then Green Bay comes in another couple of weeks as well after Carolina. At what point do you say it's 2012?
Well, if Donovan keeps throwing them in the dirt like he did that last one, it's going to be sooner rather than later. That has been an issue for him so far. But Christian Ponder's sitting over there, and I know there are people within this organization who think the time is very soon.
Peterson for a couple.
One of the issues that Donovan McNabb has had is with his front leg. Watch how sometimes he'll sort of lock that thing out, almost like a golfer maybe getting over on the front side a little early. When he does miss, he misses low, which means he doesn't throw many interceptions. But every time he threw one of those last week, the fans sort of let him have it.
It's the first time I think I've ever seen a quarterback get booed with his team leading 28-0 in the first quarter. 3rd and 7. But that had a lot to do with Adrian Peterson. That pass is a little bit low. But Berrigan is able to come up with it before it hits the ground.
Yeah, but he didn't get a chance to run with it. So really what you're hoping for there is the chance to catch and run, because you're short of the first down marker with the throw. But because it was so low, Berrigan had no choice but to just go down and get it. And here comes the punter.
Devin Hester back to, he hopes, run it back. We'll see what Cooley does. It's a high floating kick. And that's going to take a big Bears bounce and roll all the way back to the 33. So it's one thing to kick away from Hester, but a whole other thing when the punt only goes 17 yards. 16-3 Bears. Fred Puckett is the defensive coordinator. Leslie Frazier had been the defensive coordinator under Childress, and then he ascended. And right now that Viking D needs a hold here. They're already down by 13. Bears have it at the 33-yard line. Forte will get the handoff and get stripped before he can get out of the backfield. Minimal gain.
Yeah, a little unbalanced line that time by the Chicago Bears as they bring in an extra offensive lineman just to try and throw them off. 3 offensive linemen and a tight end on that side, and then really kind of run to the backside behind the double team, and it looked pretty good for a minute until Lance Lewis sort of stuck that back leg out and got Forte. He's the only one that stopped Forte so far tonight.
2nd and 8. They flank Forte. They've got Klutz lined up in the backfield. He stays in the block. The pass to the outside is errant, intended for Kellen Davis. It'll be 3rd down and 8.
Well, the strength of Matt Forte, his patience, and these jump cuts that he does so well. He runs with his shoulders squared to the line of scrimmage, but then does these little lateral jumps and has the ability to re-accelerate. And so when you think he's coming somewhere and the defense starts to close on him, he jumps the other way and makes a play. He would like a contract soon, but thus far, Bears aren't giving him the number he wants.
Be a false start.
False start, number 74, offense, 5-yard penalty, still 3rd down.
Chris Williams, the #1 pick out of Vanderbilt in 08.
You know, it's interesting, Al, the whole franchise tag, because the Bears are offering Matt Forte a contract, and if he doesn't take it, they can give him the franchise tag and pay him about $8 million a year, but no guaranteed money up front. So that's the decision now that Forte has to make. Do I take the guaranteed money for less, or do I play it 1 year at a time and worry about injury?
Jerry Azangelo, always easy for the fans to spend everybody else's money. 3rd down and 13. And Cutler slings it over the middle, caught by Hester. And they convert on 3rd and long as he takes the ball down to the 13-yard line.
Well, once again, 7-man protection, and the Vikings are trying to bring some blitzes, but there's just nowhere to go here. This offensive line, what issues on the offensive line? They have been absolutely flawless so far in this game. And remember, you're talking about the Minnesota Vikings, probably the top pass rushing team in the NFL coming into this game.
Licking their chops coming into this game. Meanwhile, the Bears with 212 yards of offense. 140 through the air. It's 1st down. And Cutler throws and caught for a touchdown. Dane Senzenbacher, the Ohio State undrafted rookie, makes his first catch of the night for a touchdown.
This is beautiful right here. Hard play action. They're going to impact E.J. Henderson when they go that way. He's going to turn this way, and then they're going to throw right in behind him. Beautiful job by Cutler. Squeezed it in a small hole. That was well designed and perfectly thrown by Cutler.
Sanzenbacher, who played with Terrell Pryor at Ohio State. Into the end zone. The extra point by Gold is good, and the Chicago Bears, coming off a terrible performance on Monday, playing brilliantly tonight. 23-3. Wednesday. See how it all began, how having a baby changed everything. Up all night on NBC Wednesday night. Chicago. Cruising down the Chicago River.
What a gorgeous downtown they
Unbelievable.
have. If you've never been here, you just come walk the streets, you go, wow, this is what a downtown should look like.
Fabulous. Harvin's going to come out from 5 yards deep. Ooh, and he's going to get hog-tied at the 17-yard line. Sam Hurd came over from the Cowboys, lending his special teams skills. This is weird for the Vikings. Look at that. They've only allowed 19 points in the first half compositely this year. In the second half, a whole other story. They've blown those 3 big halftime leads, and tonight they're going to have to do it in reverse. They're going to go into the locker room in all likelihood, down by a lot at the half, and we'll see if they can turn it around against the grain in the second half.
Yeah, they've been playing in reverse so far.
Number 17, fake the end around to Harvin. Deep downfield, and McNabb able to throw it down the middle to Bernard Berrien.
Well, you've got young safeties back there in the game. A lot of action going on. Watch these guys react. Coming up, firing up, you see the reverse, and then all of a sudden Donovan still has the ball. And really, if that one had been led out in front, maybe a chance. But this is the kind of rocket shot that Donovan is capable of throwing, which makes it so much more unusual when you see him throw one in the dirt. He has a ton of arm strength.
To the outside, and that will be hauled in for what should be a first down by Asante Shanko. Berrien with 2 catches tonight, equaling his total through the first 5 games of the season. He missed last week's game. Word in Minnesota was that he missed a couple of team meetings. Leslie Frazier wouldn't address that directly. He said, hey, look, he understands what happened, and he's ready to go.
He was a little less than 100% on a couple of pass plays the week before, too,
against Kansas City. Peterson around the end, and Adrian unable to get on track tonight. That's Julius Peppers making the stop, and Peterson has been limited to 16 ground yards on 8 carries.
I mean, it looks like they have 13 guys on the line of scrimmage, the Chicago Bears do. So Adrian Peterson is not going to beat them tonight. If the Vikings are going to mount a comeback, Donovan McNabb is going to have to do that. You can see the game plan. You can see what they're doing. Now they get a big play, stop them on second down, and they still bring 10 guys around the line of scrimmage.
Second and 11. McNabb rolling away and then throwing to the 32-yard line, and that's Michael Jenkins making the catch. Leads the team with 20 receptions.
But you can see everybody at the line of scrimmage. Here's the safety, but in general, that's as many people as you can put at the line of scrimmage. Of course, the Vikings have a lot of tight ends in the game and such, but this is going to turn into Donovan's game now. And defensively, here come the Bears, because now the crowd gets amped up on 3rd and
1. A little over 4 minutes to play. They put Kleinsasser in at fullback, fronting Peterson. Play fake, and then wide open, and they pick up the first down as Shanko makes the catch, is forced out of bounds at the 22-yard line.
Well, you have to give Bill Musgrave credit, the offensive coordinator. He's not going to try and run in there. And Asante Shanko, here's the guy that without question is Donovan's favorite target. Every time I was watching the tape, there was a key third down. That's who he was looking for, and there he hit him again.
3 catches for the former Giant. Now Toby Gerhardt's in the game, and they give it to the former Stanford Cardinal. Takes the ball to the 19-yard line.
No, it's just difficult to find space in there. They're trying to do a little bit more of the cutback, but that's a lot of bodies. There comes Major Harris coming up, or Major Wright coming up on the outside as well. And you're trying to go some of those cutback runs, and there just is that extra guy down there.
2nd and 7, 3 minutes to the half. Play action, little jump screen. And Gerhardt, the runner-up a couple of years back in the Heisman balloting, gets tackled by Charles Tillman, and another big 3rd down coming up for Minnesota.
Yeah, it's one of the things that Adrian Peterson maybe doesn't do as well as everybody else. He's not a great route runner. He's not a great blocker in the backfield. So sometimes on 3rd down, you'll see a little bit more of Toby Gerhardt and maybe a little more of Lorenzo Booker tonight. Donovan flanked out.
Now you got McNabb on a wing, and you got Webb taking the snap, and Webb to the outside, and Webb will not be able to pick up the 1st down. Tim Jennings stopping him. That's going to set up a 4th down and 1 and take us to the 2-minute warning.
And there's the young safety, Chris Conte, coming up to make a big play.
2 minutes to the half. Bears 23, Vikings 3. Bob Costas and company, Toyota halftime show coming up. Big win for the Eagles today. They really needed that one in Washington. Tom Brady does it again. What else is new? Beats Dallas in the waning seconds. Jim Schwartz and Jim Harbaugh had a little tete-a-tete after the game in Detroit as San Francisco knocks off the heretofore undefeated Lions.
Minnesota, 30-second timeout.
And they got a...
That was just bizarre. Right. The 2-minute break, and then they changed their mind, I guess, afterwards.
Well, they were going to line up to attempt a field goal, which would have made it 23-6. You still would have had a 3-possession lead for Chicago. And we were talking about it during the break. It's my feeling, hey, why not go for it right here? Bill Musgrave, the offensive coordinator. It's almost a now or never moment. You're down by 20. You got a 4th down and 2.
You know what I bet happened there? I bet you they had a fake on. Got out there, saw the alignment of the Bears special teams, and said, I don't like it.
Yep.
So now we're going to just send our guys out.
Bears sent their anti-fake unit out there, didn't they? They could smell it. 4th down, short 3 from the 15. And then you got, and you can see Peterson's frustration right there because she had action along the line. That's Michael Jenkins who was moving.
Start, number 84, offense. 5-yard penalty, still 4th down.
And that compels you to kick the field goal now.
Boy, you're talking about a lonely walk off the field right there. Wow.
Lining up to go for it on 4th down, and Jenkins starts moving his legs, and now it will be a 38-yard field goal attempt for Ryan Longwell. Busculi puts it down, and that kick is hooking and is wide. And so there is a very ugly ending to that drive as Chicago gets the ball with 1:55 and 2 timeouts.
Louis is one of the top holders. There we go. That's down cleanly. There's no excuse whatsoever for Longwell on that one. That was perfectly done. Don't think anybody got a hand on it at any point. And for Donovan McNabb sitting there 13 for 17, 122 yards so far in the game. But again, on 3rd down, He wasn't given the opportunity, and then they flinched on 4th down and not given the opportunity again.
Now Cutler has had plenty of time tonight. Does again. Getting free over the middle is Johnny Knox across the 50-yard line for a first down.
So interesting. We were talking to Jared Allen about facing the Bears with all the issues they showed last week on the offensive line, and his line is, I hope they don't change a thing. Well, they changed a lot of things tonight. A lot of different protection schemes in here.
Under a minute and a half. That's Forte. Forte gets tackled just short of the first down at the 41-yard line. Greenway makes the tackle.
Isn't it amazing the difference in the body language of a quarterback when he's not getting hit? I don't think Jay Cutler's been knocked to the ground tonight.
Clean uniform, clean pocket, swings it to the outside. Hester makes the catch, steps out of bounds to stop the clock, and a first down with a minute and 2. Sunday Night Football brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes to save you 15% on car insurance. By Wendy's new Dave's Hot and Juicy Cheeseburgers. By DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you got to get DirecTV. And by the highly intelligent new Audi A6. Audi, truth in engineering. 1st and 10 to the 35-yard line. There's 62 ticks left in the hand. Cutler, before he gets hit, finds Forte to the 32-yard line. Chad Greenway making the tackle. Bears with 2 timeouts and elect to use one here. 49 seconds to the half. Follow the NFL while on the go. The NFL's mobile apps, all new for the 2011 season. To get the apps, go to NFL.com/mobile. Maryland comes to Chicago. 2nd down and 7 after the timeout. Bears have 1 left, ball at the 32. Cutler finds room, and then Hester drops it. It'll be 3rd and 7.
Boy, the big difference I'm seeing tonight from Jay Cutler is even when there's a little bit of pressure around him, his eyes are staying down the field. He was talking about it this week, saying, listen, it's hard to keep your eyes down the field on the receivers when you're constantly being hit and badgered in the pocket. Well, that time, even as he stepped up, he just sort of stiff-armed his own guy, found a little space, and threw the ball.
They run a draw. And going nowhere because Allen is right there to tackle Forte at the 34-yard line.
Yeah, they don't even block Jared Allen on that one, assuming that he's going to come after Jay Cutler, and said he went and got Forte.
And with a half a minute to go, a timeout. Robbie Gould comes in for a 51-yard attempt. The Vikings took that timeout. They want to conserve some clock on the other side. And of course, they get the ball at their own 41 if he misses this one. Marvelous to put it down. 51-yard attempt by Gould. Good as gold. Seconds for the half. 26-3 Chicago. Mid-October Sunday night in the Windy City, where it's breezy tonight. Temperature is in the low 50s at the moment. And Leslie Frazier has watched his Minnesota Vikings, who've been stalwarts in the first half of games this season, turn in a pretty dreadful performance here in the first half tonight. 26-3 Chicago. Virginia McCaskey, daughter of George House, secretary of the board, trying to watch her team go to 3-3, and then they go to London next Sunday to meet Tampa Bay over at Wembley Stadium. This is Lorenzo Booker. Out to the 24-yard line. You know, the one thing about the Bears, you looked at them coming in 2-3, but Lovie Smith, ever the optimist, says, hey, look, you know, if we win this game, We go to London, we beat Tampa. We're 4-3, and that's exactly where we were last year after 7 games. And they wound up as the number 2 seed in the NFC.
Yeah, he was most disappointed, I think, with the play of his defense. He said, you know, I've watched Lovie Smith's defense for a lot of years back in St. Louis, and they don't give up big plays. I mean, they have 2 deep safeties for a reason, so they don't give up big plays, and they've been doing it all year.
McNabb avoids the sack. Shoe comes off, and the catch is made here on the outside by Kleinsasser with 13 seconds left.
Julius Peppers, you can tell his knee is bothering him here on the outside, but he still comes around and gets everything but the sack. Donovan, just because he's a little like Ben Roethlisberger, just because you get 2 arms wrapped around him doesn't mean he's going down.
Left shoe comes off.
Donovan's still out there fighting him, and wonder for Julius how many more snaps he's going to get.
Slant is caught by Michael Jenkins, with the clock ticking down, and Minnesota will take its final timeout to set up
this is the 3rd and final
one last gasp
Minnesota
pass. You know, just sitting here thinking, pondering.
Here we go.
You know, you could say you're pondering that. I would never say that, though.
No, you would never do that.
Bada boom, you and I'll be working the lounge at the Holiday Inn in Waukegan this week. Come on by, no cover charge.
And later tonight.
And later tonight as well. But do you ponder putting Ponder in the second half to start?
It's tough. I mean, you know, Donovan's had a really good first half. I think 14 for 18, something like that. So, and you kind of took him out of the game on some key 3rd down. So it's kind of hard to end up putting too much of this one on him at this point. But yeah, we're getting to that point in the season.
And that's the way the half will end, on an inside give to Booker.
Wow.
And the Chicago Bears trying to get back to 500. They'll get the kickoff in the second half. They lead 26-3. The Toyota halftime show coming right up. Chicago offensive line doing the job. Cutler throws and caught for a touchdown.
What issues on the offensive line? They have been absolutely flawless.
Offensive line good. Defense has been very good. Look from the lake at Soldier Field in Chicago on this Sunday night. Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, and Michelle Tafoya starting the second half. And the Vikings in a big hole. 1-4 coming in, down by 23. Face Green Bay next week. Thank you very much. And the Bears head to London. Hope to go there with a mark of 3-3. One hopper is fielded up at the 10-yard line, and then running the ball back is Sam Hurd. And he sets the Bear offense up at the 35 as we take a look at Jay Cutler in the first half.
Well, nobody's ever doubted Jay Cutler's arm strength with the way Matt Forte was running. The play action was cooking. Safeties rocking down, and Cutler rocking from the pocket. It's Devin Hester over the top, and that sort of set the tone for the whole evening. Here's another play fake. And he's going to get E.J. Henderson to shift a little bit that way so he could hit Sanzabacher in the back of the end zone. And that was the way it went in the first half. It was easy for the Bears.
Good protection for Cutler. He starts with a give to Forte, who cuts it back to the left side and out to the 49-yard line, a gain of 15 on the opening play of the half.
Well, we've got Tyler Klutz, the fullback, in there, is going to end up picking up a block. This is how much backside running they do. They put the fullback on the backside of these things. They get Forte started to the right, but know they're coming backside. And really, for me, as well as Cutler has played, the story of this game has been the running game of Matt Forte and the play of this offensive line.
And the defense doing its job. From the 49-yard line as Cutler was swinging out to Forte. And he'll get taken down in the open field by Robinson, and we check in with Michelle.
Well, Lovie Smith told me at halftime he is very pleased with the way his offensive line is playing in this game. As for Leslie Frazier, he said the Vikings were heading into halftime looking for any way possible to get pressure on Jay Cutler. He said he's had way too much time to throw back there. But you guys were pondering whether he'd come into this game. Frazier indicated he's happy with McNabb. On their next drive, you know, their first offensive drive, he needs to see points on the board for the Vikings, Al.
You're right, because McNabb, at least statistically, not a bad half. 15 out of 19 for 138. But you're right, they need points, and they need a lot of them. Forte to the 47-yard line.
You know, and it's tough. Here's Donovan. He's comes over. He's probably a one-off kind of difference maker, hopefully, for this season. Just buy a little time until Ponder is ready, and he knows where he is. He's a veteran guy. He went through the whole thing with Kevin Cobb. He went through the whole situation with Mike Shanahan and all of that in Washington. So believe me, it's not like he doesn't know what's in front of him here.
3rd and 7. The ball is at the 47. Cutler stepping up, and finally they get to him, and the ball is loose, and that's Allen who comes up with the football. At the 43-yard line, Jared Allen leading the league in sacks, coming in with 8.5 and creating the turnover.
Just a hustle play by Jared Allen on this one. He really didn't get a whole lot going. He just kept playing hard. Here he is out here working against Webb. You can't say Webb didn't have good protection. Cutler tries to step up, but he holds the ball so far away from his body. Allen's able to get that thing out of here. And here we go for the Minnesota Vikings. This is exactly what they needed to start this half.
That's the trifecta. That's the sack, that's the forced fumble, and the fumble recovery from the 44-yard line. Still trying to get Peterson on track. Bears have done a great job on him tonight. And now Adrian finds a little bit of room and picks up about 6.
Well, so many mistakes by the Vikings in that first half, and especially on 3rd down. Started with Shanko missing one early and come right back. Bernard Berrien missing the next one on 3rd down, and it just set the tone. And it went on from there. There was the safety. Aya coming in to get that, and then on 4th down, you're going to go for it. Flinch, back it up, bring in your ultra-reliable kicker, and he skanks it.
Adrian got 8 yards on the play, 2nd and 2. McNabb under pressure. Goes incomplete. 3rd down and 2 for the Vikings.
Jay Cutler over there working with the guys on the sideline, and Minnesota's trying to stay with this sort of max protection look on the offensive line. They're playing 2 and 3 tight ends on almost every down, and when the Bears come up, they're going play action out of it. They need a couple of explosive plays to get back in this thing now.
Pat Brown is in at right tackle. Phil Lodehold, they're working on him from time to time tonight, is out. Here's Peterson. He gets the first down, cuts it back inside the 30 to the 28-yard line. You know, we were talking about him before, Chris, and you always hate to make a comparison. And the only reason I mentioned the comparison to Walter Payton was that Leslie Frazier, who made that comparison, played with Walter Payton with the Chicago Bears in the early 80s.
Which, of course, is the ultimate tribute. Looks like John Sullivan, the center, now going off the field here as well. But I can remember, Al, when I was playing in Forrest Gregg, at one point came into our meeting room and he said, stop everything. He put on a tape. He goes, I want you guys to watch a football player. And he showed about 5 straight plays of Walter Payton blocking, not running, not doing anything else, just full out effort. And you got a little flavor for what everybody feels as far as respect for Walter Payton in this town.
Peterson seeking a rushing title, second to Darren McFadden of Oakland coming into the game. Joe Berger comes in at center on a 1st and 10 at the 28-yard line. And McNabb be caught at the 15-yard line, and Percy Harvin takes the ball down to the 10. Major Wright makes the tackle. Vikings trying to cash in on the takeaway.
Well, nice job by Adrian Peterson here. He's going to pick up the safety blitz coming in, and if he does it, McNabb's going to get it right in the ear hole. Gets just enough of them. But for Donovan, you know, about the time the conversation starts turning, are you going to take him out? They get a break. They get a fumble recovery from Jared Allen, and here they are.
First and goal, the ball at the 10. Danko. That's half the distance. Spotted just inside the 5-yard line. Okoye makes the tackle. Second down and goal.
That time working on Julius Peppers a little bit, knowing that he'd be amped up trying to come get Donovan. Slip the screen in behind him. They've been chipping and coming across and sort of trapping him on the outside with those tight ends, and that time they slipped out and got the screen.
Second and goal. Peterson, big hole, touchdown Minnesota. So in 4.5 minutes, you get the big sack, forced fumble and recovery by Allen, and then the Vikings go to the end zone, and they're still alive.
Yeah, here we go again, and here's the big guy, maybe headed for the Hall of Famer, Steve Hutchinson, out in front and just gets Urlacher. But again, they put that tight end in motion, and this time instead of running behind him, they run the other way, and I think it just surprised the Bears.
Longwell's extra point is good. Get it back to a 2-possession game. 10:23 remaining. Allen creates it. Peterson pays it off. 26-10. Next Sunday night will be in the Superdome. The Saints hosting the Colts on Sunday Night Football. What a day to forget for the Saints. Football night starts at 7 Eastern time. Lose to Tampa. Now, many of you know, we talked about it at halftime with Sean Payton getting rolled into in the first half. Flew back, checked into the hospital tonight. Sean will have surgery tomorrow to repair an MCL tear, a tibia fracture. The coach of the Saints, best wishes to Sean. And we'll see him and the Saints next Sunday night. Devin Hester is going to run it back, and Devin Hester is off to the races. And just when Minnesota had life, Hester says, take that. Touchdown Chicago.
Pure magic. Just sit back and enjoy. It doesn't take much. A little crack there, a little move there. What he has done in the National Football League is simply set it on its ear. It's absolutely remarkable. With all the planning the teams put into stopping that one guy, they simply cannot do it.
Goal for the extra point. That's Hester's 4th kickoff return for a touchdown to go with 12 punts and a missed field goal. 17 lifetime return touchdowns. 33-10 Bears. Still a young guy. Hester's going to wind up at the top of that list. Deion Sanders still holds the record most return touchdowns of any sort, 19. Hester and Rod Woodson with 17. And there was number 17 right there. And it's 33-10. From the 2-yard line, Lorenzo Booker.
He just looks human, doesn't he?
Yep.
Wow, look at Devin Hester before that kick, sort of licking his chops, rubbing his hands together. All right, guys, let's go do this thing here. You really can't point to say, all right, there's brilliant blocking or there's anything amazing. And with Deion Sanders and Rod Woodson, half of those are interception returns. This guy does it all, just returning punts, kickoffs, and one missed field goal. Simply remarkable. Everything the teams do to try and stop him, and they simply cannot.
From the 23. And McNabb is now sacked. So just when the momentum was turning, Hester runs one back, and Peppers gets a sack.
Julius Peppers, now we're going into feeding frenzy mode as he jumps inside of Johnson on this one, and this is when defensive linemen love playing the game, and for Donovan McNabb, it's a tough time. You know, Donovan's played pretty well out here tonight, but you have to wonder when the inevitable is going to come.
2nd and 19. Minimal gain to Berrien. Let's check with Michelle.
Well, the Vikings center, John Sullivan, out of this game with a concussion. So he's being replaced by Berger in there. And Phil Lodeholt, who hurt his knee in the first half, the right tackle, still questionable. We have not seen him in here in this half, so Pat Brown's picking up his duties, Al.
And Michelle, they only have 7 offensive linemen who are dressed, so they're down to their final 5.
But they have offensive tight ends that play like tackles in this offense, so they can shuffle those guys in there.
3rd and 13. McNabb, and he's going to go down in a heap again at the 10-yard line. Okoye in his 5th year out of Louisville with the sack.
Yeah, Moby Okoye right here comes over from Houston and hasn't had a huge impact, but that was just the coverage sack. There really plenty of time, and here we go again. He's smiling now. See if he rubs his hands together again.
Licks his lips. Where's Cooley going to kick it? Well, Hester's going to get a chance here. From the 37, starts to stumble, regains his balance. Here he goes again, but this time he's going to run out of room inside the 40-yard line. Take somebody on the sideline along with him.
Bears are just goofing off now.
Sunday Night Football brought to you by Old Spice. Know better than yourself. By Lexus, it's time to engineer amazing. By Sprint, all football, no limits, only from Sprint. And by the Bank of America Cash Rewards credit card from Bank of America. But just north of Chicago, Leslie Frazier started his coaching career at Trinity International University back in 1988. Was the coach there for almost a decade. First head coach in school history. In the field after him.
Well, Leslie was the one that actually started that program, got it all put together, and they remembered him for him. He's a good man, he really is, and good defensive coach. And tonight, it's been stunning. I mean, it really has. After you watch the Bears last week and you watch the way the Vikings can rush the passer, you're thinking, oh boy, they might get 10 sacks in this game.
Marion Barber in the game. His last rush for a couple of yards, and that's batted away by E.J. Henderson. Leslie Frazier was a Bear. He played on that great 85 Bear team. Went to the Super Bowl, and then his career ended in that game. Tore up his knee. Never played again. Went into coaching.
Yeah. He was good, too. Over his last 3 NFL seasons, had 18 interceptions, and pretty remarkable. Isn't the Super Bowl that holds so many great memories was the end of the road for him.
Andy Reid had him in Philadelphia when Andy took over there in '99, so he goes back with McNabb a long way. On 3rd down and 9, and that'll be caught at the 15-yard line by Kellen Davis, the tight end.
Yeah, and maybe Mike Martz making a point here that we can still go spread offense. He spreads everybody out. Cutler gets it out of his hand quickly. No Greg Olsen, but Kellen Davis will do.
And Jamarcus Sanford, the safety, is still down. An injury timeout. It's become a new tradition here at Soldier Field, and isn't that appropriate? They honor a military hero, and tonight it's Brigadier General Mark Brown who comes out onto the field. Good idea. I haven't seen this in the NFL. I know the Los Angeles Kings do this in hockey, and it's a good idea to, you know, when you have a stoppage in the game, you bring somebody out, or you have them stand up in the stands, and you can see that the Chicago Bears even acknowledging it.
It's important we all remember, huh?
You bet. Sanford back on the bench for the moment on first down after the injury timeout. This was Matt Forte. Gets taken down behind the line of scrimmage.
You know, it is interesting that the Atlanta Falcons game, the opener, the Chicago Bears, everybody was feeling really good about this Bears offensive line. They did a nice job, and Gabe Karimi, the rookie, in there at right tackle. They had moved Jamarcus Webb from right tackle over to left tackle, and everybody thought, oh boy, this is really going to be good. And then when Karimi got hurt, the right side, there he is, the right side of that offensive line is just kept shuffling. But I think one of the keys tonight has been the play of Lance Lewis at right tackle. He's picked it up nicely there.
2nd and 15. Lewis does his job there. Caught by Forte. Forte as a receiver, again, coming into the game, not only leading the team in rushing yardage by a mile, of course, but leading the team in receiving yards. And tonight, 14 carries for 82 yards on the ground and 5 catches for 26 yards through the air.
Very bright guy, huh? Degree in finance.
Yeah, that's why he's very involved in his contract situation. 3rd and 5. And a quick toss over the middle, and that's incomplete. Sanzenbacher, who had a touchdown earlier, couldn't hold on. And draws the ire of Cutler.
Well, they come with an all-out blitz, and for Jay Cutler, he sees it. He gets the ball out of his hands, and I'll tell you, the one thing that you do notice about Cutler this season is that he is making more and better reads when teams are coming after him. Remember that Giants game last year, sacked 9 times in the first half? And to be fair, some of them were Jay's responsibility that he missed.
26-yard attempt. And the man who hasn't missed a kick all season stays perfect. 36-10. Soldier Field in Chicago. 5:44 to go in the 3rd quarter. Brian Urlacher and the Bears coming in 2-3. Fans in a state of consternation. Well, we're feeling a lot better right now.
Absolutely. You know, Lovey wasn't too happy with that performance last week, though, was he? Made some changes, changed both safety positions, and sometimes as a head coach, you have to drop the hammer to wake everybody up, and I would say the Bears got the message.
Self-destruction on Monday. Here's Booker. Booker out to the 27-yard line. Lovie Smith said before, I mean, it's so hard to believe. 8 years already. This great tradition with the Bears. Of course, you go back to George Halas, who was the coach here for 40 years, had 4 10-year runs, and of course Mike Ditka led him to a Super Bowl title, and Lovie Smith been to a Super Bowl. 8th year already.
Yeah, and people forget he almost got to another one last year, winning the division, and of course the Green Bay Packers won the Super Bowl, but it was the Chicago Bears that won this division. So, and he said, listen, we're a good team. We're off to a bad start. We're a good team.
Looking good tonight. McNabb throws, and Donovan very accurate tonight. Berrien makes the catch. McNabb in the game has thrown only 5 incompletions, and 3 of those have been drops.
Yeah, it's a difficult situation. There's no question about it, because if you've watched any of the Minnesota games at all this season, you know that the fans have been on them pretty hard there, and they're anxious to see their rookie play football. But Donovan's not giving him a chance tonight.
Peppers chasing him, and down he goes with a little bit of a shove, just enough to get the sack.
I tell you, there's nothing I enjoy more than watching Julius Peppers, bad knee and all, run in the open field. Donovan McNabb can run. I know he's a little older. I haven't seen many push sacks in my day. It's kind of at the end of it, you know, they're take care of the old guy, right? We just ease him on down. There was a day they wouldn't have caught McNabb on that play.
2 sacks for a guy who was listed as probably not going to play. As the McNabb family looks on, and down he goes again. Israel Adonijah gets the sack. And it's a feeding frenzy now. Tee-off time.
Yeah, and Mom's gone.
Yep.
She's seen enough. Almost the reverse of what Jay Cutler's mom had to endure last week. And remember, backup players in here. Patrick Brown in for Phil Lodeholt. Joe Berger in at center for John Sullivan. And this is going to be hard enough anyway. But you have 40% of your offensive line out. It gets even harder.
5 sacks, and now you got Hester ready to run the kickback if Cluey lets him.
Boo, they're going to boo.
You can boo, but it's a bad punt. Hester can only smile about it. Give Chicago great field position. What about Hester's night?
Well, it all started with the bomb right off the bat. He has been doing much, much better. Cutler very happy with him at wide receiver. But then it was showtime, and every time he touches the ball, you can almost hear the air go out of this stadium. I mean, they really expect to return almost every kick he touches, and one soon after that, he got close.
They start from the 43. And Forte is going to pick up a few more. It's taken down by E.J. Henderson. Gain of 7.
I'll tell you, Chris Williams is showing me something tonight, getting out in front of these plays. He's been going both left and right, but the ability to get an offensive lineman out in front on the edge and up on the corner, that came very close to breaking. Chris Williams brought in here. They anticipated he was going to play left tackle. And now look at here.
Looky here. 2nd and 3. From the 36-yard line. And Forte gets taken down for a loss. 39-yard line. Let's go to Michelle again.
Another concussion. Jamarcus Sanford now out with a concussion. And we've seen that Tyrell Johnson has replaced him, Al. So the injury bug biting the Vikings hard.
Well, the Vikings, and there it is graphically. And they get to go home and take on the Green Bay Packers next Sunday. And then they face Carolina on the road. Then they're off, and then they get the Packers again at Lambeau.
Good luck. Tyrell Johnson, he played a lot last year, so this isn't an injury that should destroy this defense. Well, at least not any more than the Bears already have.
Charge timeout. Chicago.
Timeout.
30-second timeout.
One of the great college football rivalries in prime time from South Bend. You'll see it Saturday night, 7:30 Eastern time. Every year, USC taking on Notre Dame. This year's game right down the road in South Bend, Indiana, next Saturday night, right here on NBC.
Can't have any more fun there than they're having here tonight. These Bears fans, they knew how important this game was with the Lions and Packers so far in front.
3rd and 5. And Cutler goes underneath. And Forte will get around the corner and get the first down.
You know, it's really hard to watch him play and not have the words "pay the man" come out of your mouth. And I understand all the what's going on. Come on, Jerry. Pay the man. There you go. That's what everybody thinks. And we talked to Matt about it. He said, yeah, of course, you know, it weighs on my mind. I think about it when I'm out there playing. And usually after the game's over, my agent calls the Bears and they say, well, the offer is the offer. Well, everybody understands it. It's a business side to this game, too.
From the 28.
Hester.
You know, I'm thinking, Chris, speaking about SC and Notre Dame with a flag here, Soldier Field, which was remodeled and redone and reopened in 2003, it's the smallest capacity. Here's
Personal
Anderson.
foul. Rough pass to number 93, defense.
Kevin
Down.
Williams. This is the smallest stadium by capacity, a little bit more than 61,000. It used to be the old Soldier Field going all the way back to the early 1900s. They had over 120,000 seats. SC played Notre Dame here in this stadium in 1927 before 123,000 people.
Wow. Made some money that day, didn't he? Jay Cutler earned his money on that one, too. That was a helmet-to-helmet shot, and at the end of it, you saw Cutler get up and sort of shake his head. He's been clean all night. Yeah, he was just looking for the flag. There you go. He's going to help out the official.
First and goal from the 9. Marion Barber is the running back. Hester, will he get a third touchdown? Well, not yet. Anyway, to the 4. Second and goal.
You know, they've really been trying to limit Devin Hester's reps at the wide receiver position to get him effective again as a returner. He kind of went through a little lull there when they made him a full-time wide receiver as far as his returns. So they're trying to take a few snaps off of him at wideout, and it's paid dividends on the returns.
Second and goal, final minute of the third quarter. Barber. Third and goal.
And Marion Barber, they're hoping that they can take some of the pressure off of Matt Forte in the same sort of way. He was dinged up and injured for a little while, so even third downs fell to Matt Forte, but they really brought Marion Barber in here to take care of these situations.
Don't have to run another play. They'll change ends, and we'll start the fourth quarter with a third down and goal. But a good start for the Bears tonight, and they have built on it. Allen, for the moment, got Minnesota back into the game, but Hester took care of that momentum with a swing of his own. And after 3 in Chicago, it's 36-10 Bears. Sunday Night Football from Soldier Field resumes after these messages. Soldier Field, Al Michaels with Chris Collinsworth, Michelle Tafoya start the fourth quarter. It's third down and goal. Cutler will throw to the end zone, and it is incomplete. Try to get it into Spaeth, one of his tight ends. Fourth down, and Robbie Gould will come in for 3 more.
I'll tell you what, when Jay Cutler decides to load up the fastball, it's coming. That was only about 5 or 6 yards away. There's Spaeth right there. And Jay's just going to unleash one here, trying to squeeze it in that tight little hole, and couldn't quite get it there.
Robbie Gould for a 22-yard attempt. And his third of the night. Chip shot is good. Early fourth. Chicago up 39-10. Well, the great Brian Williams is going to bring his unique perspective to prime time. Don't miss the premiere of Rock Center with Brian Williams, Monday, October 31st. It's Halloween night at 10 Eastern, Pacific, 9 Central, and Mountain right here on NBC.
A lot of fun stuff to do in Chicago. Now we're going to get to see a new quarterback.
Yeah. A yard into the end zone. Booker. And Lorenzo out to the 29-yard line. And here comes their #1 draft choice, 12th overall out of Florida State, making his NFL debut right now, Christian Ponder, the quarterback of the future, and the future apparently is right now. So Donovan tonight, 19 of 24 for 177, but they're down by 29, and here goes Ponder to work for the first time. Good way to start a career. You give the ball to Adrian Peterson.
You could make a career out of doing that for sure. Well, you just have to wonder. You always think of what these guys are thinking when they come in for the first time. Really a surprise pick. Didn't you think that he was drafted that high? Caught a lot of people off guard for the Minnesota Vikings. It's only the third time they've ever taken a quarterback in the first round. And when you're a rookie, the first thing you got to do is get that chin strap passion. You know, otherwise you got to do that whole you know, Fu Manchu mustache thing.
Back to square one. There's a play fake and rolls out, and his first NFL carry is going to be good for a first down.
Didn't even really contemplate trying to throw that one in down there, did he? Saw the edge and going to take off and run with it. Everybody's chasing Peterson, and there goes some of the mobility that made him an attractive draft choice. Had a lot of issues, arm, elbow, shoulder issues down there, some surgery, and they feel like he's back to full strength again.
Got a degree in finance and did it in just 2.5 years at Florida State. Ball to the 40-yard line. Off the fake, look out, steps up. Good pocket presence. Away he goes to the 49-yard line. Flag is down back at the 28-yard line.
Boy,
Holding, number 76, offense. 10-yard penalty. Still first down.
That's the all-pro guard, Steve Hutchinson.
I'll tell you what, though, Julius Peppers almost killed Adrian Peterson in the backfield. Peppers came around there, and he was looking for Christian Ponder and accidentally ran into Adrian Peterson. That's probably the hardest shot Peterson's taken in a long, long time. Most times you don't get that kind of a shot against a guy that elusive. Peppers had a big night tonight on that bad knee, hasn't he?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. 1st and 20 from the 30. Ponder will swing it to Peterson. Not much happening out there. Roach is there to make the tackle. When you look at the history of the Vikings, only twice in their history have they drafted a quarterback in the first round. Tommy Kramer was picked in '77, had a decent career, and then Dante Culpepper, the 11th overall choice back in 1999.
Yeah, and really only a handful of times they've ever taken a quarterback period in the first 3 rounds. So I guess maybe no surprise they brought Donovan McNabb in here.
2nd and 20. Handles that high snap. And throws and finds the open man, and that's Harvin. And Harvin comes close to picking up a first down as he gets to the 50-yard line.
Well, that was impressive.
Enough for a first.
Yeah, he had to kind of move around the pocket a little bit, and there's Percy Harvin. He looks like he's in pain. But this is a good sign. He could feel the pressure, step around it a little bit, keep his eyes down the field. And for Percy Harvin, I'm sure he's thrilled. I don't think anybody's been more frustrated than Percy has with what's been going on with the down the field passing game.
Harvin's caught 6 tonight for 63 yards. Good hard play fake and throws a bullet, and that's another first down to Harvin. So very impressive opening drive in the career of Ponder. Let's go to Michelle.
Well, you know, it's interesting for Vikings fans in Minnesota. They're kind of used to what you might call retreads, Al. Brett Favre, Rich Gannon, Warren Moon, Jim McMahon, guys who had played a decade somewhere else coming in. They looked at Donovan McNabb a bit that same way. So fans in Minnesota are very eager to see this young quarterback, Christian Ponder, and what he can do.
And Michelle would know since she's a resident of the Twin Cities. From the 35-yard line. And that pass is a little bit behind Greg Camarillo.
Boy, if he'd completed that one, that would have been really impressive. Huh? He had to kind of throw back across his body on that one. But the nice thing that you're seeing out of him is the ability to move around, first of all, but also he's keeping his eyes down the field. He's playing NFL quarterback after taking a couple of runs early on. But he throws a pretty nice looking ball, pretty tight spiral, which obviously in the NFL come December you're going to need when the winds start really blowing.
2nd and 10. They fake to Toby Gerhart. Pass is incomplete. Going deep, intended for the former Bear, Devin Aroma-Shadu, and it'll be 3rd down and 10.
Well, and this has been one of the issues for the Minnesota Vikings this year. They had only completed some crazy stat, like 2 passes of over 20 yards all year, and already you're seeing Ponder coming in here and saying, well, short stuff worked, let's take a shot down the field. Unfortunately, he threw it out of bounds.
Yeah, 2 completions to receivers who were 20 or more yards downfield. 3rd and 10. And that is caught by Michael Jenkins, who takes it to the 22-yard line, the former Falcon, with a 1st down here.
Well, it's not an official quarterback controversy yet, but we're getting close. This is pretty good-looking stuff here. Bring Shanko up the field to run into Lance Briggs, and that buys him just enough time to work on the outside. I tell you, he looks poised, doesn't he, Al?
Well, if this was an election in Minnesota right now, he'd have all 10,000 votes. 1 for each lake. The 21-yard line.
Oops. And there goes a lake.
Yep, right.
1 lake less.
All right. 9,800 lakes right now. 2nd and 10.
Yeah, that was a little strange. I think he was trying to work it in there to Michael Jenkins, and Jenkins kind of got knocked off his route. The one thing you did notice with Ponder coming out of college, plenty of finesse. I mean, any of those sort of little touch passes, he seemed to handle those really well.
And that is incomplete. A little bit behind Aroma-Shadu, and it will be 3rd down and 10. Ponder on this drive, 4 out of 7 for 49 yards.
Yeah, I think he may have hurried that one just a bit, because he saw number 55 Lance Briggs run underneath this one and tried to zip it and got up a little bit on him. That's the one thing in this league you cannot do. You can't throw him high. And for Donovan McNabb, he's seen this before, hasn't he? Kevin Cobb and all that preceded, Mike Vick.
3rd and 10. Pressure put on. Gets away. And then has to throw it away. That was DJ Moore who came into the backfield. Corner blitz and chased him out, and it's 4th down.
Yeah. Just about the time that you start thinking, boy, this quarterback looks pretty good. And the Bears do what they always do. They answer with bringing everybody. Time sending a corner after him, and Ponder looked pretty fast. That was until they sent an NFL corner, DJ Moore chasing him.
Well, nothing to lose. It's 4th down. You're down by 29. Going for it on 4th and 22-yard line. Briggs comes through, and the catch is made, but Shanko cannot pick up the 1st down. It'll be a yard or 2 shy. Urlacher makes the tackle. They turn it over on down.
Oh, Urlacher thought he had one there. Talked him into a hot read. He almost got underneath it.
Not a bad debut for one Christian Ponder. Sunday Night Football from Chicago, brought to you by Verizon, the official wireless service provider of the NFL. By Nissan, innovation for today, innovation for tomorrow, innovation for all. By Triple Hops Brewed Miller Lite, taste greatness. And by State Farm, get to a better state. The 85 Bears, Mike Ditka, the coach, and Jim McMahon and the gang, never got to the White House until recently. And the reason, of course, was a couple of days after they won that Super Bowl over the Patriots, that great team. You had the Challenger tragedy, and so that canceled what would have been the Bears' visit to the White House, and here they were a quarter century later, getting to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Yeah, President Obama, big Bears fan. I'm sure he had a great day.
From the 13-yard line, this is Matt Forte getting to the line of scrimmage, and not much beyond. Well, a lot of stuff went on today, and you know by now that 49ers win, and the exuberant Jim Harbaugh is going off the field, and Jim Schwartz didn't like the way he handled the handshake, and that led to this.
Harbaugh saying, get out of my face. And I think really, and here goes Schwartz again after him, but I think it was sort of, the handshake wasn't an issue, but it was the smack in the back that knocked Schwartz off balance that he took the wrong way, or, you know, hopefully it was the wrong way.
Schwartz is not used to losing. We're undefeated. This is Williams up to the 29-yard line.
You know, Jay Cutler's had a nice day, but so is Roy Williams. This is by far his breakout game, and it wasn't all in mop-up time here either. Early in the game, they hit him on a couple of crossing routes, and if he starts to be a factor, could be significant, because the one thing about Johnny Knox and his great speed, we all know about that, and Devin Hester, but they're little guys. So you want to throw some balls across the middle. It's nice to have that bigger receiver in there to give you a nice big target.
Well, Williams trying to resurrect the career. Good in Detroit, and was traded to Dallas, and that turned out to be a disastrous trade for the Cowboys. And they had their fill, and here he is. And speaking of the Cowboys, there's Barber. Just to finish up with the 49ers in Detroit, you know, in some ways, though, that becomes the whole story instead of the fact that was a heck of a football game today. Back and forth they went. 49ers held them at the end, had to give the ball back. I mean, it's two teams very much on the upswing. And then, of course, it all boils down to a million yakety yaks about what happened after the game.
Absolutely. But, you know, Jim Harbaugh is doing now with the 49ers what he did with Stanford, and that is play a very physical brand of football that Schembechler would be proud of.
2nd and 6. Barber to the 34-yard line. Meanwhile, Green Bay, of course, they just keep on rolling. They had the Rams today, and away they went. Big early lead and coasted to a win. 6-0, only undefeated team. Detroit now 5-1 after today. Bears trying to get to 3-3, and the Vikings heading for 1-5, and a date with the Packers at the Metrodome next Sunday.
Yeah, you get the feeling that it's, unless something really rough happens in Green Bay, they're going to be tough to catch. But Chicago feels like they owe Detroit one after the other night. They were not at all pleased with what happened to them there. So rematch looms.
3rd and 5. They'll get him in a couple of weeks here, and that's incomplete. 4th down. Let's go to Michelle.
Yeah, a couple more injuries. Devin Hester out with a chest injury, and tight end Kellen Davis, who came into this game questionable with an elbow injury, that elbow has taken him out as well, Al.
All right, and they will try to recover and then get on a plane on Thursday, Michelle, and head across the pond. It's the annual game in London at Wembley Stadium, and the Bears are in it against the Tampa Bay Bucks a week from today. And Podlish will do the punting. We'll take a second look at Christian Ponder when he leads them from the 41-yard line. 6:42 left. Bears handily. Best analysis about the NFL and its players with Mike Florio at Pro Football Talk on NBCSports.com. So Ponder now, his second series, starts from the 40. And the pass is incomplete. 2nd and 10. Ziggy Wolf is the owner of the Minnesota Vikings, and there he is, here tonight with his brother Mark. Very important week. If you follow football, you know, and there's, well, hello, Ziggy. He's able to affect the wave with his team down 39-10. But tomorrow's a big day.
Legislators there.
He said, yeah, don't forget, guys, we got to get that stadium because their lease is up at the Metrodome. 2nd down and 10. And Ponder rolling away, buying time, and then throwing it away. So the Vikings clearly playing in an inferior facility. It's outdated. Need a new facility, as is the question in every municipality in the country that needs a new stadium. Who's going to pay for it? That's the issue again in Minnesota. And they've been talking for a long time now about where and how and all of the rest. But it's coming down to a head very soon because the Vikings lease is up. And you all know about Los Angeles looming There's a lot of stuff that's a little mysterious there, too, as well as Greg Camarillo makes the catch and takes the ball to the 37-yard line. So who better to report on this than somebody who lives there and knows all about it than Michelle? What do you think? Well,
look, they've got 3 very key meetings this week with the state legislature. One is with Ziggy Wilf and the state legislature and the governor. One is with representatives from the league. And they've really got to decide, do we go into a special session and vote on this thing and decide about the state's contribution, or do we wait? I'll finish after the play.
All right, so the 37 on first down. And that's caught by Gerhardt. Okay, go ahead, Michelle.
Well, the new stadium site that's been proposed is in Arden Hills, which is in Ramsey County, about 10 miles away from each of Minneapolis and St. Paul, so it would not be in Minneapolis. Ramsey County has committed a third of the money. The Vikings have committed $420 million as the 3rd largest private contribution in NFL history. Now they'd like the state to commit. Governor Mark Dayton wants this to get done, but it's now up to the state legislature to say, okay, we're on board too.
Second down and 6. More in 1 second on that right after the play as Ponder under pressure throws. Gerhardt makes the catch. So, Michelle, I'm going to put you on the spot for a second. What do you think's going to happen? What's the sense of what takes place next?
Well, here's the thing. Voters, Minnesotans are pretty split politically. They don't necessarily like to see public funding for a stadium, but this stadium would be used by a lot more tenants than just the Vikings. Now, the governor, as I said, really wants to get this done. He knows politically it would be very good. The legislature is kind of listening to both sides. They're listening to the governor. They're also listening to the people of Minnesota. But insiders I've spoken with in terms of the Vikings, they feel cautiously optimistic. And, you know, my gut tells me it's going to happen. This franchise is so important. 2 years ago, so close to a Super Bowl, couldn't get it done then. Now they're playing poorly. We'll see if they can get it done under these circumstances.
Our reporter on the scene, the one and only Michelle Tafoya. You know what I love the most of all? Michelle grew up in Southern California, just the way she says Minnesotans.
Hey.
Fully acclimated, isn't she?
Yeah, I could do that, or I could, you know, take on my Valley Girl California
Oh, please
accent.
do. Let's hear a little of that.
Well, you know, I could do that, but yeah, I have gone full Minnesotan since I've lived there.
Well, you can cover the Vikings no matter where they wind up in a couple of years,
well,
right?
That's true.
like totally, yeah. We really like totally to see that team, and totally, yeah, like.
3rd and 17. And that catch is made by Michael Jenkins. 4th down.
Well, Christian Ponder's not doing too badly. He's fit a couple of balls in there into small spaces, and he does throw a pretty ball. He has a quick release, not a lot of extra motion to that delivery, and he's putting it in good spots. If you were looking for a positive sign, and there aren't many tonight, it's amazing that these 2 quarterbacks have played pretty well and they're getting hammered like this.
And Ponder avoids getting hammered again. And that's going to be short of the first down. Turn it over on downs again as Berrien makes the catch. Bears get the ball back up 39-10. Bears ready to run out the clock if they can and head back to Lake Forest tomorrow, and then go to London, and we'll go to Caleb Haney, the backup quarterback, as Jay Cutler did his job tonight. Had a 267-yard night, 2 touchdowns, no picks, 21 of 31, and that line did a really good job of keeping the Vikings away. Marion Barber. That Bear line, when you take a look at the regular starters last season, that's the way they lined up. Those were the starters. Kreutz then went to New Orleans as a free agent. And so they had a brand new group except for Chris Williams. And then they had to move Spencer over to right guard in week 2. And Omayal became the right tackle in weeks 3 and 4. And then Lance Lewis back to guard in week 5. And that's the way they lined up tonight. Meanwhile, Jamarcus Webb has done a very nice job. The 7th round draft choice out of West Texas A&M at left tackle.
It's kind of like whack-a-mole or something. Yeah. The whole thing, you know.
2nd and 7. And Barber for 4.
Well, one guy in that offensive line who stayed in the same position, and maybe it's paying off because he's really played well tonight. We saw him early on the draw block, getting 2 guys to pop Matt Forte, but this has been what has been the most impressive, his ability to get out in front of Forte on some of these outside plays. And I tell you, it's just remarkable that this is the same offensive line that played the Detroit Lions a week ago. And as bad as it was last week, it's been that good tonight.
And the Viking defense, especially that front 4, no slouches. Barber chugging his way, and if he picks up the first down, that's going to take us to the 2-minute warning.
Jay Cutler, he wasn't so happy a week ago. When we talked to him this week, he wasn't so happy then either. But tonight, that's more like it. 1 sack, knocked down a few times, and he had his say this week. There's no question. He spent a little time with Mike Tice, the offensive line coach, Mike Martz, the offensive coordinator, and I'm sure he's much happier now.
2-minute warning. The Chicago Bears ready to go to 3-3 with a big win over the Vikings tonight. That's next week, and coming up after the game, the Wendy's post-game report. Michelle with an interview from the field. Bob, Tony, and Mike wrapping up the game of the day, and Chris and I will take a look ahead to New Orleans next week. First down, and they can just run the clock out here. And Barber will be able to pad his stats with a 14-yard pickup.
Well, I tell you what, Caleb Haney last year in that championship game replacing Jay Cutler came awfully close to being a hero of all heroes, didn't he? It looked like the Bears were dead in the water in that game, and in came Haney, and everything looked great until he found B.J. Raji on one.
Minute and a half to go, and they can run the clock out, and we want to send our condolences to Art Modell, the longtime owner of the Cleveland Browns and then the Baltimore Ravens, still very much involved in the franchise, and the passing of his wife Pat within the past couple of days. Pat was known and loved by a lot of people around the National Football League, and we send our sympathy and respects to Modell family.
All you had to do was ask of that couple. They were at every event, at every charity, very, very giving couple, and a lot of people much appreciate what they did.
Well, there is Christian Ponder, and of course that's the question that Leslie Frazier will be asked immediately upon the beginning of his little press conference after the game. Who starts next week? What do you think, Chris?
I think probably Christian Ponder. You know, it's impossible to take Donovan McNabb out, but at some point you've got to find out. It just depends on whether or not you consider this season done or not.
Well, if it's Ponder, he'll make the acquaintance of Mr. Clay Matthews and Mr. Dom Capers.
Got to beat him eventually.
Right. Sooner or later. Big night for Cutler. Big night for the Bears. Big night for Hester. Chicago goes to 3-3, winning it 39-10 with the Wendy's post-game report coming right up.
With ease, the Vikings now 1-5 as they head home to take on the Packers, and much to ponder in the upcoming week for them. And as for the Bears, 3-3 as they check their passports and head for London and a matchup with Tampa Bay. But before they do, Jay Cutler stops on the field to talk with Michelle Tafoya. Michelle.
Bob, thanks, Jay. It's amazing the turnaround of your offensive line if you compare it last week at Detroit and tonight. How did that happen?
No, we helped them out. We did a lot more five-step stuff. We did some quick play action, got rid of the ball. You know, and that's how we started the game and settled down a little bit. And those guys did a good job. We ran the ball well. You know, we just have to manage what we do, and, you know, good things are going to happen.
Yeah, you were sacked just one time tonight, barely touched, really. Let's talk a little Devin Hester, because he was terrific in the receiving game, had a touchdown on your first drive, and then, of course, the return. How do you put into words what that guy means to your team?
You know, the fact that people still kick to him is just absolutely amazing. He does a great job for us. You know, he gets better and better as a receiver, and obviously everyone knows what he did in the return game. So he's a special, special player. And when the defense plays as well as it did tonight, how does that alter the way you feel on offense and what this offense can do? You know, we had great field position all night. They were putting a lot of pressure on Donovan. You know, we got some scores early, and they had to play catch up. And anytime we're playing football like that at home, it's going to be tough to beat us. Jay, thanks. Congratulations. Thank you. Bob?
All right, Michelle and Jay, thanks to you both. Let's swing to New York.